What's up everyone on the internet? Thank you for making this video part. I'm so excited to upload this one for you guys because for this video we're going back to the Planet of the Apes. We'll be taking a look at the three most recently Planet of the Apes films that have been released this past decade, which are Rise of the Planet of the Apes, Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, and War for the Planet of the Apes. All of which serve as a reboot slash prequel to the original Planet of the Apes. Also, I know that there was the 2001 Mark Wahlberg movie, but we can forget about that. Anyway, let's get started with Rise of the Planet of the Apes. So this movie was released back in 2011, and as I mentioned earlier, it kind of serves as a reboot slash prequel to the original Planet of the Apes. And what I mean by that is that the movie serves as a reboot because the story is set in the more modern world, and the apes are done more realistic as opposed to what we see in the 1968 film. But it also serves as a prequel because you really do get to see how these apes took over the planet. And who would have thought that the best part, not just this movie, but the entire trilogy, is an ape called Caesar, played by the legendary Andy Serkis. Okay, Andy Serkis is by far my #1 favorite actor of all time, hands down, because when you look at his filmography, he not only played Caesar in all three of these ape films, but he also was Gollum in the Lord of the Ring and Hobbit films, he was Claw in Black Panther, he's gonna be Alfred in Batman, and he also was Snoke in Star Wars. So this guy's basically cherry-picked almost every single fandom that I really like. But anyway, one of the things I really like about this first film is how they decided to portray Caesar as sort of this Moses-like figure for the apes. In the beginning, his mother was killed, and due to experimentation from a drug to prevent Alzheimer's, he inherited her genes and became highly intelligent at a very young age. After being taken in by James Franco's character, Caesar grew up in a human home. That is until he was taken to an ape sanctuary, which is more like a prison and is tormented by Draco Malfoy from Harry Potter. Well, after seeing how these apes are treated, Caesar takes matters into his own hands and decides to give these apes a little dose of the drug that he was exposed to. And right there and then, you can see something click in these apes as they are now smart and are now capable of thought and reason. Okay, in the last video, I said I wish I could go back in time to 1968 just to watch everyone's reaction for when Taylor discovers the Statue of Liberty at the end of the first movie, because it's such a huge twist that no one saw coming. Well, it looks like the movie decides to have one heart-stopping moment, and honestly, this is the one scene that defies the whole film. I remember when I saw this movie back in 2011, I looked at my cousin and I was like, holy crap, did that just happen? And from that point on, you find yourself rooting for Caesar as you watch him lead his apes to freedom from the oppression of the humans. And by the time the movie ends, you soon see how these apes took over as a simian flu spreads like wildfire across the entire planet. Okay, looking back at 2020, if the coronavirus was like the simian flu, we wouldn't stand a chance. I firmly believe that Trump would have ignored it and blamed the apes for creating the virus. The simian flu is a hoax. The monkeys tested positive, negative, and there's nothing to worry about. Caesar is a fraud, and all this coverage of the Simpson flu is all fake news. Yeah, we definitely wouldn't stand a chance. But anyway, we now move on to Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, which is by far one of my favorite movies of all time. I remember when this movie came out, critics were comparing it to The Dark Knight and The Empire Strikes Back, both of which are my two favorite movies, so that's a good sign. Anyway, so this movie was released in 2014 and it takes place a few years after the events of Rise of the Planet of the Apes, where the simian flu has practically wiped out most of the human population. So in this post-apocalyptic world, Caesar leads his tribe of apes, which includes his wife and 2 sons, and all's well at the beginning of the movie. That is until several humans come up on his territory. Seeing that the humans are in a weak state and are desperate for help, Caesar believes that this is his one chance to bring peace between the apes and humans, and if he helps them out, there may be a long-lasting peace between these two races. Well, that doesn't sit well for Koba, who has seen just how cruel these humans can be, and when he sees that Caesar starts to trust these humans too much, he snaps and decides to take matters into his own hands. While Caesar wanted to make peace with the humans, Koba wants to wipe them out while they're still weak before they have a chance to attack the apes. And this leads to a crazy conflict where we see Koba ride on horseback with 2 machine guns jumping through fire, and my God, is that a horrific sight to see. One of the things that I really like about this movie is that you really do see Caesar struggle with leading the apes while also trying to help the humans at the same time. And he firmly believes that all apes are good and is not as corrupted as the humans, but you can see in his eyes that at one point he soon realizes that while there may be some good trusting apes, there are also bad apes that want fear and power, both of which are what Koba represents. And all this leads to a big fight between Caesar and Koba, who are fighting for the leadership of the apes, which sort of reminds me of the ending of The Lion King, where we saw Simba and Scar battle for the throne of Pride Rock. So overall, I really love Dawn of the Planet of the Apes because it's not afraid to pull back any punches, and by the end of it, you see that the damage is done and war is coming. Which leads us to the third and final film of this trilogy, War for the Planet of the Apes. So this movie came out in 2017, and as the title implies, the apes and humans are at war with each other as we see Caesar go up against Woody Harrelson's character known only as the General. Right at the beginning of the movie, you see just how ruthless and calculated the General really is, as he does a bad thing to Caesar, and this pushes him to go on a path of revenge. Watching Caesar just gun down one dude on the beach, it just shows you that he's had it with the humans. In the last two movies, we've watched him either run away or try to make peace with the humans, but in this film, he soon sees that none of that worked and decides to just start killing them all while he hunts down the General. But even though he now has a distaste for humans, he still has some sort of empathy for them when he soon discovers a little girl who can no longer talk. As it turned out, the simian flu that wiped out more than half of the human population on the planet later evolved into a new virus that infects humans and takes away their ability of thought and reason. So basically, this new virus is making humans act more like animals. And this is how we bridge the gap between this film and the original 1968 movie. Because when you look at it, this is how the humans became the humans that we see in the original Planet of the Apes movie, and how the apes became the more dominant species. Anyway, fast forward later on in the movie, Caesar soon sees just how cruel the General is to the apes, as he treats them more like servants who cower beneath a whip. However, they still have the strength to carry on as they look to Caesar for hope, but are soon caught in the crossfire between the General's army and the rest of the United States Army. And this is where the war aspect of the movie comes in. Now, when you look at the title, War for the Planet of the Apes, you expect to see many battles, or at least one big epic battle between the apes and humans in the third act of the movie. However, in the final act, the war comes from the confrontation between different factions of humans who can't seem to come together in an end of the world crisis, and the apes are just caught in the middle. Now, while I would have loved to watch these apes win a big scale epic battle against the humans, it seems actually fitting to watch these humans destroy themselves, leaving the apes to take over the planet. And in the final moments of the film, you watch Caesar become a legend as he leads his apes to freedom after an exodus journey. And seeing how this movie ends, I'm alright if Disney decides to either reboot or continue this franchise. If they decide to reboot, I'm okay with that because this trilogy is all wrapped up. But if they decide to continue on after War for the Planet of the Apes, I would love to see where this franchise goes. So overall, I really love these new Planet of the Apes films, and looking back at this trilogy, there are three trilogies that are in my mind the greatest of all time. The original Star Wars trilogy, the Dark Knight trilogy, and the Planet of the Apes reboot trilogy. And if I had to rank these three films, it would be Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, Rise of the Planet of the Apes, and War for the Planet of the Apes. Also, if you watch all these three films back to back, you soon see this incredible character story arc for Caesar as you watch him go from rebel to leader to legend. Well, that's going to do this video, guys. That was my overall review for the Planet of the Apes reboot trilogy. If you like what you saw, click the subscribe button so you can get the latest updates from this channel. I'll see you all next time with a brand new video. Bye-bye.